Hey, Tom here, Flip Anything USA. You know what? I spent the day here. Russ, please give me a quick mic check if you would. Everything should be good now. People had a little trouble hearing me earlier, and I understand why. I am not the audiovisual guy, but when it's midnight, I am. Anyways, it's about midnight right now. And, I usually sign up new students into my mentorship when I do. It's usually on a Saturday or a Sunday. A lot of times it's Sunday. Okay, good. Thanks, Russ. And so I'll tell you, it was interesting, Russ. The mentorship meeting. Those of you watching is Saturdays. That's when I talk to students like Russ, who's in here. Hey, Richard, thanks for that too. But I was really struck today by as somebody that wanted to be, interested in becoming a student. They were doing their due diligence, real bright, someone that fit right into the classroom. And here's the deal. There's so many fake gurus. There's so many unethical people in this business of teaching that have no expertise. They're pretenders. They're exaggerators, serial exaggerators. And it's really confusing to the outside public that watches. And but it was interesting because Pace Morby, who is somebody that's quite popular, and I think he's a total fake. I don't think he knows what he's doing in real estate. I seriously doubt he's even made $1 million in real estate. I think he's made many millions of dollars selling his course, but I don't think he has any real estate chops at all. I mean, at all. Because you would not be a serial exaggerator. You would not be so ambiguous. And what was interesting, and it's always rewarding, because my students, the ones that get into my class, are people that have looked at guys like Pace and Grant and Chris Crone, and they go, something doesn't smell right. They go, something doesn't smell right with this guy. They never talk in specifics about profits made. They don't talk about specific and profits. They're very vague and ambiguous and say things like deals. Now if you're a kid, if you're gullible, if you're stupid, deal, oh, that sounds exciting. And so I find it refreshing, number one, that, when I do talk to people that are more bright. And this young person I talked to today, she owns a few properties, came from real modest means. And in all honesty, she basically has my background, living super frugally, super modestly. And I'm talking about, being on welfare. When I was a kid, we were on welfare. It was macaroni and cheese. It was free food from the welfare wagon. We'd have a block of cheese in the fridge the size of like a shoebox, like Velveeta, basically, right? And in a nastiest milk, a powdered milk mixed with water, and they gave you like a yellow plastic jug, just absolutely putrid tasting milk. And I'll tell you, I actually love my background, and I love my history, because and you'll find people that have started with the least often accomplish the most, because you're driven, right? And but anyhow, this person was telling me about their investigating and how they found me, and maybe I'll have a video out actually with her. Those of you just got here, we're talking about fake gurus versus legit, and I can tell you right now, I think I can honestly say I'm the most legit real estate guru, if you want to call it a guru, real estate mentor on YouTube, period. Compare myself to anybody. I think I bring the most value to anybody. And I know, yeah, it sounds, but whatever. I mean, I know what I know. I've been doing it for almost 4.5 decades. And, I see what's out there. I've got the feedback. I've got the best and brightest students. My students many of them are millionaires now in real estate. And nobody has a record like mine. And so, and then if you know how you get censored by YouTube if you don't walk the line, and if you don't say the right things, they squash your channel. They basically, if you say anything negative about, the current administration or whoever, they happen to fall in favor with, which usually it's not the best and brightest of people out there as far as running our country. It costs you, and it's a shame. So I get squelched and squashed. Less people see me, and so but the real tragedy is, I was talking to this person, and this is not the first person I've talked to, that, we'll talk to a Pace Morby salesman, right? I wouldn't even put this on Pace. So you got people in Pace's class that kind of oversell, and then Pace gets to underdeliver. And if you notice, one of the things Pace Morby does is very non-specific, right? It's always deals. Mr. 84, how many deals did you do? 84, he's done 84 deals. Did he lose money? Did he lose on all 84 deals? Did he make any money at all? Zero information. There's nothing to back it up. There's nothing to really cause you to want to believe that that's, that there's something there. In fact, while we're sitting here talking, by the way, you can see this loop, these are properties that I personally have owned, I've purchased, I've made money on. And, anyways, Russ, chime in here a second, if you would. I don't actually have I don't know if I dare try to hook up the phone, but maybe. But the tragedy is people that are trusting, that are gullible, and desperate, to be honest. And one of the things that came across was, when I talk to people about getting in my class, I say, where are you at? How much money you got? Not that I want it. I just want to know if you can afford to be in my class. If you have to put it on a credit card, if you borrow it from mom and dad, guess what? You don't qualify. I don't want anybody in my class that has to borrow money. I just don't want it. Because I don't think I'm doing you a service. Now, can you make money starting with nothing? Absolutely. I started from nothing. Guys like Russ in class, super modest means. But, he built his wealth up. He found me, somewhere before he turned 30. And now he's, taken off more like a rocket. He's already done very well, don't get me wrong, fantastically well. But he's doing better now. And that's kind of the case is, I like people that are smart. Other people thrive on people that are dumb, and it's a shame. It's a shame. Anyways, that's kind of where I was going with this tonight to talk, but, we can talk about anything you want to talk about, real estate-wise. Anybody got any questions, anything, burning or, concerns about 2025? And, oh, by the way, listen, if you want to call me, you can text me tomorrow. If you're in my mail list, you should have already gotten an email saying, give me a call, and my number's in there. You can text. Text is always best to begin. But you can text me on a Sunday, and that's okay. And I will respond back and give you a time that I can talk. Sometimes it's right away. But I urge you to do it, because you know what? Time's running out. Russ, I believe they're going to sign. And let me tell you, this is how I talk to people. I say, no pressure to sign. And this person said, you know what? It's funny. They go, I could barely get off the phone with the Pace Morby salesperson. And when I did, and I said I would, I'd check back, or I was going to sleep on it. Well, the next day they get a call, and of course it's, oh no, you got to get in. And she said, well, how long have you been in? Or how long have you worked for Pace? Or, what are you doing? Do you make money? And he said, oh no, yeah, I've done deals. I've done lots of deals. And how long have you worked for Pace? Oh, about a year. And no specifics. Couldn't tell her any money he made. Couldn't talk about a deal specifically. Just wanted to run away from that topic altogether. And so, but that stuff comes through. And she said, well, I don't think I'm gonna. I think I've looked into it enough. I'm not. He said, oh, look, I'll give you $1,000 off right now. If you sign. In other words, you're not talking. Listen, I don't have a salesman. I don't promote. It's very convenient. And one of the reasons I don't promote is I don't want some commission-based salesman promising the moon are misrepresenting, because it's the wrong incentive. It's just the wrong incentives. But yeah, I expect so for sure, Russ. I certainly, she belongs. I'll put it that way. She definitely belongs. She's smart. She's like you, man. She's a hustler, and she's doing very well. And but she wants to do better. And but I was struck by that. And she was said, you know what? She's the first person that asked me how I'm at financially, and with the concern that you can afford the course or not, because nobody ever asked that. And that's like my first thing. In fact, anybody here that's watching knows that about me, and everybody knows that the first thing I ask is, can you afford it? You know what I mean? Where I think I've seen even Grant Cardone and, talking to some other yo-yo, and I think it was a woman that said, well, I don't really have the money, or she was trying to decide whether, I don't know, pay off the car or do something else. And okay, I'll do that. And the response was, oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Put it on a credit card. It doesn't matter if you don't have any money in the bank. Go ahead and go into debt on a course. It's so stupid. But anyways, so real estate goals. So Russ is in the class, and this is a good question. Real estate goals 2025. Well, my main goal is not to make a mistake, right? It's always not to make a mistake. And now I kind of bear the burden of mentoring a lot of people. So, I always say time kills deals. You got to be very careful. You can, you'll lose it, you'll blow it if you don't make something happen and close it correctly. And so I don't take it lightly. I take my students, my students' problems are deals, if you want to, whatever you want to call it, their situations, deals that we're going to, as serious as my own, even more. I even get more attention than my own right now. I've talked about that earlier. But so real estate goals. Listen, I've always been all about making money. And we were talking about this earlier, and I said to Russ and the rest of the class, look, I'm 62 years old, and I was kind of equating my age to like a gas tank. In other words, if my age was was like a gas tank, it would read 3/4 empty, or you could say 25% left, right? I got about 25% of what's probably going to be my total life left, right? Assuming I live to whatever, say 88, okay? Roughly, or just say 80-ish, 81. So I have a little bit different goals. So 2025, again, I'm not as hungry to make money as, say, Russ here and the other students in my class. And one of the reasons is because my financial, if you want to look at my financial gas tank, it's pretty full, right? In other words, I got a full tank of gas when it comes to money. Got a lot of real estate, a lot of money. I got a huge monthly income. I've got a lot of real estate that's all paid for, or nearly all paid for. So that's I don't have to quite make as much money as I used to feel like I made, because when I was younger, not having security as a kid, security was the number one thing. Far gone past that. But so with real estate goals, my goals are kind of like for the students and for myself, it's just simply always hold a high standard of making money. Right now, look, the interest rates shouldn't have even gone down. When they went down this last time, they should never have gone down. I told everybody they shouldn't go down. You never know, because only the government, oops, I shouldn't have said that. I shouldn't have said that. When it comes to the government, they usually make all the wrong choices for all the wrong reasons. There's too much self-serving going on, and thank goodness for some of the the new stuff coming out, the departments to watch out for that stuff. But right now, I always explain. It's very difficult to say what the economy is. I know there's these guys that love to look at data. Mike Zuber, who I like Mike Zuber, but I don't care for his looking at the data. I think it's fun. It might be fun for him to go back and look at the data. To me, it doesn't mean shit for the future. And the reason is because the factors that really change the market. I mean, obviously, interest rates go up. Interest rates go up. I can tell you right now, prices go down. It's how it is. I mean, it's happening right now. We've had a big jump in the rate. This is one of the unique things that I have not seen happen in the last 43 years that I've been doing this. In the beginning when I started, interest rates were high, 10, 12%. Well, now the big problem is, and Russ, I know you've heard this, probably boring to you, but because the interest rates have doubled basically in the last 2.5 years, roughly, it's a drastic amount of change to go up so much. And so it's a big shock to the market in two ways. One, if you have a piece of real estate, if you live in something or you owe money on something that you have, you're in kind of a dilemma, because if you sell that piece of property and you expect to borrow the same or more amount of money for the next deal, that money's going to cost you twice as much, which means you're going to make much less. You're going to make much less on the next property on a cash flow basis, because your payment is going to be double what it currently is. So if you change, and listen, if I own something outright cash, I can sell whatever. If I have something that's worth whatever, $500,000 or whatever, several $10 million, whatever, doesn't matter. If it's all paid for cash, I can sell that asset and I can change the form of that asset by buying something else, because there's no interest burden, right? Because I don't have to pay any interest because it's cash now. But that's not the case now. So for 2025, it's very difficult to judge exactly what will happen. Yeah, do I expect to crash? Absolutely. A lot of things are going to crash. As good as I feel about the new administration coming in, and I think it'll be a much softer landing, and it'll be a whole lot less trouble and problems with who we got coming in than who we've had for the last 4 years. But I don't know. Russ, help me along here. I'm not sure if that's kind of getting to the goals you want. Why don't you tell me what your goals are? The number one is don't make any mistakes. I bought property. I think I bought 4 houses in the last 7 months. About $100,000 on each one. When I fired off, and actually I take it back. I bought 4. There's probably $100,000 margin there, at least, for sure. 150 at least on one of them. And I jettisoned one of them within a month after buying it. Instead of making $100,000, I made about $60,000. Still nice return, $60,000 in a month. You didn't have to do much work, to make that 60. And obviously not much time went by, about a month. But what I plan on doing is what I always do, is buying property under market. I don't plan on borrowing much. It's not that I'm not opposed to borrowing money at 7%, okay? I'm not opposed to borrowing money at 7% as long as I'm buying an asset that gives me a return of maybe 12 to 14, right? Because I'm not going to borrow money at 7% to buy something that, at an 8 cap, right? And, even if I put 50% down, I'm not going to be happy with making an 8 cap on the 50% that I may put down, and then only make 1% on the borrowed money. That goes against the way I operate. I expect to make at least half again. Whatever I borrow on my money, at a minimum half again. So if I borrow money at 7%, let's just say I borrow $1 million at 7%. Well, I would expect to be bringing in about $36,000 a year income on the borrowed money. In other words, I'm going to have I'm going to have 10.5% minimum to cover the loan burden, the debt burden, which is 7%, and then I'm going to pick up another 3.5%, which is going to be profit to me. That's how you get rich. You leverage smartly, and it's tougher to do that because everybody's in this situation where, listen, there's tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people that own real estate right now that can't sell it for what they paid for it. They cannot sell it for what they paid for it. Now, it doesn't mean they're in trouble. Doesn't mean they're in trouble. They still have an asset that's cash flowing because the burden on their debt might be 3.5%. You know, I had 3.5%, loans. I still have some that are fixed that are like, down there at about 4. Russ just wrote here, currently trying to rent one commercial property, sell the property, one of those other properties, finish and lease Tumwater. Yep, got it. Yeah. See, and this is good. And so this is, and this is kind of what I have talked about as well. So basically, Russ is saying he's just taking care of his existing business. I mean, that's, to sum it up, he's taking care of his current portfolio. And that is also what I'm doing. I mean, that's kind of a constant anyways. But and then Russ wrote, having a harder time renting. Yeah, well, it's the time of the year too, Russ. Don't be too concerned right now. It's the toughest time to rent out a commercial property is November, December. November, December, always the toughest. It's just a very, very hectic. It's a very hectic month, right? I mean, it's kind of the end of the fiscal year for a lot of people. There's things they got to take care of. With whatever their tax portfolio, certain things you want to buy, certain things you want to sell. You want to pay certain things out. I always like to pay all my property taxes. That could be almost $1 million. It has to be paid by the end of the month, and because I want to write it off in this year. There's all that, what I call housekeeping. So what you're describing to me is kind of housekeeping, and just to talk about it, because it's the same thing. I'm actually 100% occupied. I have one tenant out of my entire portfolio, more than 200,000 square feet of rentals. I have one tenant that's struggling, and I let him struggle through the last several months. But one of the reasons is for exactly what you're talking about, Russ. Is it's difficult to replace a tenant in November and December. It's because of Christmas. The legal community shuts down. A lot of things. It just can't. I can tell you right now, half my crew is on vacation. Right now, anyways. So there's unlimited for a lot of reasons. So if you just got in here, I'm talking about fake gurus a little bit. And I'm talking about how bright my students are, but how sad it is that I do turn a lot of people away. And in all honesty, I don't thrive on the kind of students that most of the fake gurus thrive on. People that are broke, undisciplined, and gullible. And at the same time, I'm talking to one of my best and brightest students right now, Russ, who's a multimillionaire. And he's actually made a couple million since being in the mentorship, and he got into a different phase of real estate that he wanted to get into, which is commercial, and now he's doing extremely well, and it's going to be fun to see how Tumwater works out. By the way, I know it's going to be great, but it's going to be fun to watch you do it. It is. I tell you, it's really kind of fun because I get to relive. Kind of, I'm not diminishing you to a child, but when you have a kid and Russ actually has 4 babies, but it's very exciting to relive the excitement through your child's eyes, right? The first time they see the ocean. I remember my daughter, she's 29 now, but I remember taking her down to the ocean, holding her hand, and she's just standing there in awe, looking at the water, and she said, "Daddy," she said, "what's the water doing? What's the water doing, Daddy?" So she's looking at the ocean. She sees the waves. First time she ever seen waves, and she knew it was water. She's like, "What is it doing?" You know what I mean? And so it's super cool. Well, and likewise, and again, I'm not trying to equate my students as babies, but I get to relive the excitement of them making their first million, making their first 100,000, making their first 10,000, making their first commercial real estate deal, making their first. Buying their first, house and flipping it and making $100,000. So, that's the similarity. That's kind of the analogy I was kind of making, and it is very exciting for me. Just to see my fellow man. Okay, Not just young people, but I see guys that are close to my age, or some even a little bit older, making money. I got a guy, Ken, that's a little older than me, and he's made $1.4 million since he's been in the class, and super great guy, fireman for many years, owned real estate over the last 40 years as well. Well, he wanted to learn about an area aspect that I'm strong on, which really I'm pretty much strong on everything, because I have bought everything, and I continue to. But yeah, I hope you're 2 months out. That'd be great. I mean, you mean 2 months from being ready to rent? Is there any pockets or any of those units that you can rent out right now? Also, Russ wrote, let me back up here a little bit. Yeah, so Russ is talking about how it's a little hard to rent out his commercial rentals, and he made a knockout deal. He made over $1 million on one building in equity on one, and he's about to realize $1 million that he made on another house. He goes, you think I should hold off lowering rent and wait for January? Yeah, I would say that, Russ. In fact, what I would really say, Russ, also is hold off for a more established tenant. Russ has already been burned by, he's a smart guy, sharp guy, and a little bit newer to commercial properties. And one of the things with commercial properties, you got to have a discipline of vetting your tenants, right? You have to understand that 9 out of 10 commercial tenants fail. 9 out of 10 businesses fail. Now, they don't fail like that. Some of them do, but if you get it's always nice when you can get a commercial tenant that's like expanding, opening up a second location, or just they're busting at the seams. They need more space, so they take a building from you, or they take more space from you. So that's what I would say for you, Russ, particularly is, you don't have to lower your price because it's slow right now. It's never a good time in December, ever. I mean, I've gotten lucky. You can believe me, I got lucky a couple times where I've gotten a fantastic tenant. I actually, one of the best tenants, the tenants have been with me. These two have been with me over 20. One of them's been over 20 years. But I had a situation where I had two tenants, and I've had this situation many times where they're both growing. And I got lucky because that happened in the big hoax, that we just went through, recently. And what happened was both needed to expand, and I just happened to have a roughly 6,000 square foot vacancy. I had a company. It's really cool when you own a lot of commercial and business and flex space and offices like I do, because you get a taste of all the different kinds of businesses that are out there, and so what was cool, where I got lucky at this time, was it sucked because we had this stinking homeless problem. We had a city council that just effed up the whole town. They changed the camping ban really to enable. It's just as phony as all the bullshit in Washington, D.C. And anyways, they enabled it so that there would be more homeless. So next thing you know, I got people checking my doors, pissing, shitting behind my trash cans, leaving the water on, taking water, walking it over, getting under the bridge at the freeway that's nearby, and then I go to show a property. I got to kick some bum in his boots to wake him up and say, "Fuck, get out of here," before my prospect comes to rent the building. And but I got lucky. In as much as two tenants in the same building. One wanted to take the rest of the building. The other one needed more space. I said, "Hey, I got a beautiful deal," and I made her deal. Put her in the only vacancy that I had, which was that 8,000 square foot building, and then the other one expanded and took their 3,000 or 4,000 square feet. So that's it, Russ, exactly. So what I was telling Russ is, the question, if you just got he was asking is, should I lower the rent because it's really slow? He's not getting any activity right now. Answer is no, because you don't get much activity in November, December. So then the next thing is, don't make the mistake you made last time. He had a good tenant, ready to pay. They were fine with the rent, in as much as they were happy with paying what they paid. But almost immediately, as soon as they got in the building, they were having money trouble. Rent started coming in late, and he had to give them the boot. And so, you know, and for the same reason, I'm telling him to wait. I just let a tenant that's having trouble, I let them slide for the last few months because I know I'm not going to get their space rented anyways during these months. So I'll take half a month's rent for the last 3 months and then give them the boot, whatever, January 1st, Happy New Year. And, I'll give them, say, you got to go. And I already own everything in the building because they're so far behind. But they'll move on, and then I will rent that space to somebody else, and I will wait till I have somebody in there that is very good. And let's talk about that. Why am I having a problem with the tenant that I have? Okay, that's a question you should ask right now, right? If you know so much, you're telling Russ to get somebody established. Why didn't you apply that yourself? Well, I did. I actually had somebody that I had tied into a 5-year lease right at the beginning of the big hoax. And if you know what I'm talking about, I'm afraid to say it, but about that fake illness. Anyways, it was basically a cold, or no more serious than the flu. Anyways, that hoax. Anyways, so what they like to say, the Rona, I guess, is your code word, not to get penalized. So I had it rented. I got to hold that person into that 5-year lease, and I allowed them to sublet. Well, the last person to sublet from that guy was the guy that I got. Well, his 5 years went through. Now it was up to me to go ahead and let this guy, pick it up where that guy left off, and that's what I did. I let him pick it up where that guy left off, and he did start having troubles. But again, the only reason I had trouble is because the guy that I had leased it to was no longer on the hook for the lease, so he didn't have to make up the difference or whatever he was probably doing with this guy. Well, now it fell on me, and the timing is such that it's like, okay, well, you're out of here, January. But I just want to be, I just want, listen, I'm very transparent, and that's why I say, I bring up things that most people don't even think about, but because I think about it, I'm exposing it so that I want you to think like I do. I don't trust anybody. It's like, oh, that doesn't make sense, and so I'm trying to put that together here. So Russ just wrote, yeah, lesson learned, now only talking to established tenants. Yeah, and I mean, there's some exceptions, but, in general, that's the best and safest thing you can possibly do. Next question Russ wrote is, when are the best months to rent a commercial building? There is no, I can't tell you that. I just, every month, the first 10 months of the year, okay? Anything but November and December. December is worse than November. It's just because nobody wants to move at that time. It's just very, very difficult. So Caleb just wrote, I'm in Los Angeles, and it seems like it's impossible to find deals. Definitely not, Caleb. I was born in Los Angeles. I made my first million in L.A. County. It does not matter, and I'm glad you brought that up. And I'm just telling you guys out there right now, look, I have people in my class, and to give you the contrast, that have made $1 million in California, and specifically in the LA area. How about San Francisco? Even worse, right? But I've got them in the Bay Area. I've got people that have made millions, plural, in towns of 4,000, 4,500, in Colorado. And so a lot of people first think, oh, there is no deals. Listen, Caleb, there's deals. You just don't know how to find them. I mean, I'm just being honest with you. And if you don't have my book, by the way, I hadn't even plugged the book. Get my book, Wake Up and Smell the Real Estate. It's been a bestseller on Amazon, Audible, and Kindle. I'm the worst YouTuber probably there is, the worst. But I'm the best real estate mentor you'll ever find, I promise you that. Also, hit that subscribe and like button. That's something I'm supposed to do within the first 2 minutes of every video, which I almost never do. But certainly get the book. So yeah, Caleb, don't think that for a second. I mean, look, even worse. Okay, how about New York City? You think New York City's a picnic? I got a student in New York City that's he's made over $1 million now, and on a single deal, he made 360. He made 200 on another. I've got another student, separate student, made 100,000. I got another one in right there next door in New Jersey. He's made over 100,000 on two different deals, so he's made over $200,000 now. He calls it New Jersey-stan because it is because he doesn't really care for New Jersey much, in as much as how the town is operated, you know. But yeah. So yeah. So anyways, like I say, if you just got here, and you know, if you're serious about wanting to make money, if you're 30, 40 years old, 50 years old, and you realize, you know, that you kind of see the light, that, you know, $1 million isn't shit. And I hate to say that to people, because I know a lot of people watching, most people watching don't have that kind of money. But the thing is, $1 million is not going to put, you know, you're not going to be able to retire on that, right? I mean, a lot of you imagine you probably could, but I mean, you know, and listen, a lot of you are going to retire on much less because you have to, but it's not going to be very comfortable. I'm just telling you, it's not going to be very comfortable. You know, if you have, you know, if you don't have much money, you know, if you're living on Social Security, it's going to be miserable. So, you know, you gotta make some money. You gotta make some money. And you want to do it while you're young, right? You know, like I was kind of expressing earlier, you know, as far as my age goes, you know, I've already burned up 3/4 of a tank, right? I got, you know, probably 25% left of my life. Now, financially, my tank is full, right? So it's a good place to be, you know, to be old and have a full tank of money, right? And assets and cash flow and all that sort of thing. And, you know, and believe me, I've got 4 adult children, you know, and they're all up and running and making money. My youngest ones are 21, and you know, they're doing great. They're doing great, and you know, and you know, that's really, you know, that's really my comfort level is knowing that everybody's covered, right? Everybody's covered, you know, in my family. So I don't know, what do you guys watch? And we got a whole 11 people watching right now. What's important to you? Don't be shy. Punch in here. What you know? Let's just, we can talk about 2025 goals. Oh, I see. Russ wrote, "It's true. $1 million is not what it used to be, especially in LA area." Yeah, I mean, it's just nothing. It's really nothing. I'll tell you. In fact, when I was in LA about 6 years ago, you know, I love California weather. I can't stand the government there, but I love California weather. But I was a place I take my family to. You know, I rent a beach house, usually in Manhattan Beach or Hermosa. Well, in Hermosa Beach, they have a thing, a comedy store, and you know, and I go in there, and you know, you used to see, you know, Jay Leno would come in on Saturdays or Sundays, and he would kind of just host the show for a minute and then be gone. You know, I've seen a lot of big stars are there, and anyways, but there was a new up and coming comedian that was, you know, and he's talking about how great life is, and he's saying, you know, and he was a funny guy, and he said, "Yeah, I got this HBO special, and so very excited." He goes, "I got first baby coming along, you know, so you know, and you know, and then I got another big break. I got another gig on this, you know, series." And you know, life is great, and he's in, you know, and he goes, and I finally bought that, you know, that $1 million home that I always dreamed about. I just got that. And then he said, "But you know what's funny is," he goes, "you know, in my dreams, you know, my $1 million home, it wasn't a 2-bedroom, 1-bath like it is. Okay, so the reality is, it's a 2-bedroom, 1-bath, right? When we used to think of $1 million, you're thinking like a giant estate." Let's see. Hello from Azerbaijani. Wow. Wow. Well, Denmark. Well, cheers. I actually have a very good friend that's from Denmark, and so he's Toltzines, and yeah. Anyways, I can't remember the words for greetings and whatnot, but glad to see you in here, by the way. So, really, it's always better if people participate and ask some questions. And I really appreciate you filling the void here, Russ, and anybody else here. But look, anybody watching here, I mean, what are you worried about? What are your goals? I mean, listen, you better get some if you don't have any. And I don't mean to presume that you don't have goals, but let me tell you, motivation is easy when you come, from, super modest means. And believe me, like I said, when I was a kid, we were on welfare. It was shitty. Lived in rough neighborhoods. There's plenty to aspire to want to do better. Where, I can tell you the people that really got it the worst, and really pay attention, I can tell you it's the very comfortable middle class and upper middle class. I would say upper middle class is really not a great place to be for a kid, because here's why. You don't hurt for anything. You don't go without. You've been provided for nicely, and I don't mean that you're spoiled. I don't just because you. You are spoiled to a degree. Whether and listen, I don't like to think that my kids are spoiled. My kids haven't had to go without anything, right? In other words, there's nothing they've had to go without. Don't get me wrong. I don't mean I spoil them with extravagant things, but we take when all my children were whatever, say under 20, we go to Hawaii, we go to Mexico, we go all these different places, and we stay for more than 2 weeks, and we're comfortable. I mean, we're really, really comfortable, and not everybody gets to do that. When I was a kid, when my parents went to Hawaii, they went to Hawaii. The kids stayed home. Okay, the family didn't go to Hawaii. The parents went to Hawaii to get away from the kids. Where my kids, they never parted from me. I always had them with me all the time. And again, and a wife that was a stay-at-home mother. Now she's a stay-at-home grandma. It's a cool thing. But let's see, Caleb wrote, and I appreciate this, Caleb, I do. I guess my biggest concern is the time commitment that real estate takes. My work is already quite demanding. Again, Caleb, let me just tell you something. You're making an assumption about something you don't know about. And I'm just telling you, and this is what everybody does. If you've never been in one of my webinars, I don't think you have. Maybe you have. I got one Caleb I've talked to before, and maybe it was you. Have we spoken before? Because this is what happens. People get so much misinformation on YouTube that sometimes I talk to a young person, and when they start talking, I'm already like, go read the book and call me after and if I never hear from them again, I don't care. And it's not that I want to be cold or callous, but I've given an extraordinary amount of my time to people for free. I do it all the time. I spend an hour and a half. I spent twice what I spend on a webinar. I spent talking to one person, and believe me, I've spent hundreds of hours, if not 1,000 hours, talking to people that I ain't gonna make one penny from. And I don't mind. You know what I mean? I don't mind. But I'm, you know what I mean? And this is one of the reasons I started this channel, is because instead of answering, the same question 100 times by email or talking to somebody on the phone, I'd much rather answer it here, and then the recording's out there forever, and then it's, I don't have to, you know what I mean? People get their questions answered that are interested enough to look in. Caleb wrote, okay, see, I got a pretty good memory. Caleb, I'm telling you, you're not in the class though, are you? And then answer me this, Caleb, are you in the class? And if you're not in the class, was it because you couldn't afford it? Or is it because of another reason? Is there something else? Because I'd love to hear it. Because I can tell you right now, people that can afford my class take my class, with some exception. And in all honesty, when I get a guy that has $200,000 and he doesn't want to part with, 3 to 5%, say, of his savings to learn from somebody that's done extremely well, and then I think, adios. Okay, I don't care. Be a penny pincher and go, because I have students that in the time this guy procrastinates for a few years, I've got somebody that came in with less money than him that's become a millionaire while they've been sitting there with their thumb up their ass, as my dad would say. Let's go back to, Alf. I'm going to say Alf. I can't read it. My biggest worry is not having is not having any debt. Your biggest worry is not having any debt. Okay, I think I know what you mean. Your biggest worry is having a lot of debt, right? I feel like, oh, I see. Oh, not having any debt. Okay, I see where you're going now, buddy. Okay, I'll just read it verbatim. Let me get my glasses here. I got them everywhere. We're talking about concerns if you just got in here, and I appreciate you writing this, Asif. While real estate is quite slow, okay, more so with no leverage. So, and this is what I was talking about. I make money on my debt, right? I make money on my debt, and that's why I don't mind debt. I make money when I borrow money. Asif wrote, my biggest worry is not having any debt. I feel like this diminishes my returns by a lot. It certainly does. Since I traded part of my stock portfolio to purchase this real estate, my stock portfolio skyrocketed. Listen, I can tell you right now, stock portfolios in general are absolute peanuts compared to what you can make with real estate. So I don't know what you invested in, but listen, I don't care if your stock's doubled. You can make so much more with real estate. I mean, forget doubling. Considering taking 10 grand and tripling it, and then taking that 30 grand and then tripling that, right? So now you made 100 grand with 10 grand, if you do the math. So I would just tell you, Asif, I don't even, I'm not sure that you're even, see, you're not in this country, you're in Denmark. Yeah, sorry about that. I don't know exactly how it works for you over there, but, I'll certainly still have a call with you. If you want to talk, I'll talk to you. For free, just fill out the mentorship survey. By the way, you go to flipanythingusa.com, and I'll definitely I'll have a call with you. You just got to fill out the mentorship survey. And again, I'm one of the worst YouTube promoters of myself there is, but so real quick, let me break away for a second here and go here, and just go here. Go to Flip Anything USA. Anybody that's here, do this for sure. Do this for sure. Apply for mentorship. You can click on that right there. Our webinar, or you can go to the success page and you can see a lot of millionaires. Okay, there's millionaires, people that have made that in the last 2 years, 3 years in my class. But apply for mentorship, number one, because it gives me a little information about you so that I can better help you and talk to you. And there's never any pressure to join. I really don't want it. If you don't want to be in my class, I don't want you. You don't fit. So let's get back to Caleb here. Caleb wrote, no, I'm not in the class. I just had a new baby, and wife just stopped working. I'm considering the class in 2025. Yeah, okay, that's great, Caleb. So look, this is the kind of thing that, listen, I don't ever want to take money from anybody they can't afford it. They can't afford it. And I'm not saying you can't afford it. Some people are just simply cautious, and you should do your due diligence. Don't believe a thing I say. Don't, listen, sign up for the mentorship. Check me out. Talk to me. Ask me good questions. I mean, believe me, like Pace Morby has thousands of people in his class that don't know shit, and they don't even know what he's done. They didn't even ask, and that's a gullible. And so really, I don't even think I take any students from Pace Morby, particularly because his students aren't bright enough to be in my class anyways. I mean, that's just the truth. I mean, there's a handful of people. I got some Pace Morby students that are in my class that just simply, they just go, yeah, I fucked up, and I didn't do my due diligence. Well, do your due diligence, do it. So, yeah, Caleb, yeah, I think I do recall. I recall the name, of course, but anyways, so never any pressure, Caleb, but, if you can afford it, we can talk again if you want. All this said, real estate gave me a strong sense of security with stocks. Even with bigger returns, I was feeling quite nervous. Okay, so you've done okay with your portfolio, it sounds like, Asif. That's good. Russ here is he's given me a testimony here a little bit. It sounds like Russ just wrote, after joining Tom's class, was able to change my life and my family's for the better. I've been buying real estate, one deal a year, where I made 1 million on every deal. Yeah, I mean, and listen, what's really cool is when you get in my class, you'll be able to go back and you'll be able to watch, because this is all historically documented over the last 3.5 years, my student success. You'll see Russ finding the deal, buying the deal, making, either the money in cash or in equity. And so, it's like I say, and like I say, Russ is half my age, and, but he's already got a solid 10 years of real estate under his belt, and maybe a little bit more now. And it's growing, but he's learning by leaps and bounds. He's learning faster than I did when I was his age, and he is learning more at a faster pace because he has a mentor, right? I didn't have that. Mine is, it's just, it's taken all these years. And, and I didn't even have a baby. He's 30 with 4 kids. I didn't have my first child until I was 33, right? Yeah, 33, I think, 33. And then I had my last 2 when I was 42. That's why I'm a 60. That's why I'm a 62-year-old dad with two 21-year-olds. Made in equity. Yeah, and see, I'm always very careful. I always like to say realized hard cash, or I say in equity. You know what I mean? And that's the thing. You got to have equity. I know Pace Murray likes to say equity comes, equity goes, and like it doesn't matter. But the cash flow, which is a bunch of horseshit, bullshit, stupid. Sounds great if you don't have any money. You think, oh, good, I can buy something and not have any equity and make money. It's stupid. It's the people are, just functionally, it's just not smart enough. Not smart enough. Anyways, what else you got there? Yeah. So anyways, hey, it's almost 1 o'clock. Probably better go to bed. At least where I'm at. I know it's a little earlier for some of you guys, a little later for others. But, hey, I really, just want to say to everybody out there, like, I'll never deceive you. I got zero interest in profiting on anybody that doesn't profit 10 times what they learn from me. In other words, I'm not going to take 1,000 from you unless I feel for certain that you'll make, 10 to 1, right? 10 to 1 on what you invest with me. And believe me, there's people in my class that have made probably more like 150 to 1, okay? And it's a very cool thing, or even more than that, And that's what I want, it's got to be, it's got to be like Russ said. Russ has picked up a couple $1 million, $1 million more, about $1 million a year or more on the deals that he's done, and I appreciate you. They say gratitude is and I already know it's true. It's the fastest thing that disappears. But I appreciate you being gracious and sharing that, and I appreciate it. And you got to believe me, it makes me feel good. Listen, like I said, I'm in the getting near the end of my life. And so there's nothing I want to do to taint that. I don't want to taint, my record of success by, swindling people. They're not going to do it. It's not worth it to me. You're not going to find me, in Reddit. You're not going to find me in the Better Business Bureau, and find, a lot of the bullshit that you'll find with other people if you look into things. But anyways, so I think I'll say goodnight, and I want to say thank you, everybody, for hanging out. And, I sincerely hope everybody has a fantastic 2025. If you do have over 40,000, over 30,000, or at a minimum, a lot of equity in your home, you possibly would qualify to be in the class. And if you fit that category, certainly fill out the mentorship right here. Just click apply for mentorship right there. Teeny tiny little form right there. That's all you got to fill out. Basically your name and age. Ask a couple questions if you own anything already, and and then whatever. You'll be on my mailing list. Not that I mail much. I don't mail anything, but you might get an email from me, get an invitation to have a conversation, and if you do, you might be like Russ, change your life and make millions of dollars. And he's not the only one. So, anyways, thanks again for watching, everybody, and again, please hit that subscribe button. And Russ, will talk to you soon, and everybody else, I hope to talk to you as well. I'll have a webinar this coming Thursday, 7 p.m. I guess I should promote that right there. That'll be this Thursday. And in the meantime, looking forward to seeing everyone. You want to learn how to make millions of dollars in real estate? I've made tens of millions over my lifetime, and I'm showing people how to do it. Get in my free webinar. I have it every Thursday, 7 p.m. Central. Go to the link below, flipanythingusa.com/webinar. Sign up for it. You can talk to me face-to-face if you want. Don't waste any time. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that like button. You don't want to miss my channel. I've been doing it for years.